Hello, and a good morning, or good afternoon, or good time zone for whatever it is for you. Welcome on into Unrestricted Lorefare, and I am your host, as always, Lich98, or you may know me as Xavier if you're a member of our Discord community. Thanks for joining me here for Beacon Space Faction Turn 19. And yeah, if you don't know what Beacon Space is, it's an RPG setting that's being created by the wonderful members of the Unrestricted Lorefare Discord server, working together to create this shared sci-fi world where we run this game, the Faction Turn in it, where we check out the different choices that our factions make that affect the grand scale of the sector overall, as well as we run a RPG session on the Discord server called Free Agents, which takes from the Cypher system and explores individuals who are working within the Penumbra network who get things done that nobody else can. Thanks for joining on in today. I know we've had some new people join us from our good friend Demeist, so hopefully you'll get a chance to figure out what all happens today, and I will do my best to make sure I'm explaining all the dice rolls and decisions that our factions are making as we go through it this afternoon. So with that said, what you're looking at, hopefully it's legible. We've had this problem occasionally on stream that the spreadsheet becomes hard to read at size. I think I'm zoomed into the same level that I tend to be, but I think actually a little bigger could be nice. It's also weird because my tiny display distorts how nice and legible it is on my screen, so if it's not legible, please just let me know in chat and I'll do my best to zoom in. We will try to spend as much time as possible, though, looking at this wonderful sector map that was created by a previous community member that translates the information in that spreadsheet into a much nicer visible form. The one downside is this display does not update perfectly in line with the spreadsheet. There's a little bit of propagation delay from different services involved, so we only get the static image of how things are at the start of the turn, and then we'll get an end of turn update once the spreadsheet changes have been finalized. I think, though, that covers a nice introduction. Let's see, I don't have a TTGI statement because the terraforming of Tellus has been completed, as was covered at the most recent lore stream. If you've missed it, you can check out the VOD. I think it's still available on Twitch, or it has been posted to the YouTube channel. I'll double check if I shared the link in the Discord. I'm sometimes bad about making sure that that archive gets updated there, but I'll check after the stream. So we don't have any pre-faction action announcements this stream. I don't believe so. So let's go ahead and get started then with, I guess, who's up first, which this was the Free Agents roleplay Roll20 app. That was not the one I wanted to open. But let's go ahead and get started with Ascent as Faction Turn 1. And maybe in the background I'll go fix which Roll20 tab I'm logged into. Because while I'm sure everyone would love some Free Agents spoilers, I'd prefer to have the correct chat window open. And so that somebody doesn't manage to, I don't manage to link my own invite link, let's do that and clear the chat log. Okay. All fixed up. Now we can use Roll20 for chat rules. So, it looks like I gave myself a column for it, but haven't entered the turn order, so we'll start off with Ascent, and I think I am going to have to zoom this back out to 150 so that the text on this page is at all legible to me. So let's get started with the faction of Ascent, who is going to be starting us off with a very common action for their faction, as they will be starting off with Exploration, which is one of the modified versions of a Stars Without Numbers action that we've added into our version of the game here. Ascent has taken this Exploration action quite frequently, but we'll go resolve it here in just one moment. We'll go give them their 6 income, which brings them up to a balance of 60 faction credits, making them currently the richest faction on the board, but let's see if that'll be true at the end of the turn. So, let's see, they've got a few movement actions to take care of, and then a exploration action. So first off, we're going to move a smuggler's asset that currently finds itself on the planet of 1518. And we're going to move it to the point of interest, or this unexplored location, in 1418. So if we come down right over here, we can find the smuggler's asset hanging out, floating around in space, as it is a nice starship asset, and it's going to move itself on over to 1418, which we can nicely see from the highlighting is a valid movement range for the smuggler's asset, so that movement is fine. Let's go take care of that on the planet map, just so that I don't forget, or sorry, on the asset tracker, just so that I don't forget, and then we'll go make a roll for that exploration. So if we return to our hex here, we can see this point of interest is just 1 hex away from another system that has discovered planets in it, so this exploration is a fairly easy thing to do. So if we take a look at our exploration rules, we can see that the difficulty of this is 8 plus 2 times the distance to the nearest explored hex, which is just a 1, so this returns a maximum difficulty of 10 for this roll. And the stat of the smuggler's asset is the best stat that the Ascent has, so if we go check out Ascent's stats for cunning, we see that they have a cunning of 6, and we can confirm that over here that it's a cunning asset for the smugglers. So this roll is going to be a d10 plus 6, trying to roll better than a 10 to succeed, well, 10 or better, excuse me. And wow, we're starting off with a fantastic roll this stream, so I apologize to all factions that follow. That just means my dice rolls go downhill. That's what this means. So a 16 for Ascent. They've successfully explored on their first exploration, which is taking place not at the hex we just moved into. They're actually doing their exploration action way up here at the top of the map, starting off in the 0701 hex. So I've actually done my difficulties calculations wrong. Whoops. My bad. It should have been a 12. It would help for me to read my notes in the correct order, but luckily a 16 will have beat even the maximum difficulty on this roll, so that is perfectly fine. But let's add the planets into the right hex, don't we? Let's see, in fact, how many planets they've discovered by rolling a d6. A 3 will just give us 1 planet, as we have range bands on this d6, so 1 through 3 gives us 1 planet, 4 or 5 is 2 planets, and a 6 would be 3 planets in this hex. So let's take a look at what this planet's going to give us. So I will read this out here. You can check out the text for this little new planet macro to figure out what this planet's going to look like, and this pulls from some of the base rules from the Stars Without Numbers system, which is where our sector generation and the basic rules for this game have been taken from. So I'm going to pull this off so that I can type this over into the spreadsheet much easier than having to constantly flick the tab back that you all are looking at on stream. But give me just 1 second to find where this is going. So this goes into the 0701 hex, which is right here. Okay. And do I have the correct planet marked down as what's next? This one says it should be planet BQ. Is that correct? No, of course it's not. Breathable mix is going to cause a problem there. Is there a planet BR? No. Yes, there is. Anybody know what planet should be next? W? BW? BW. Okay, that took far longer than it should have, but Planet BW is up next, so great. It has no homeworld currently, no planetary government. It's got the mech tag of wealth assets. Deal 1 additional damage on a successful attack or counterattack. There are millions of people on this planet that are currently living their best life at TL1. It is a thick atmosphere with which has a variable warm temperature, along with a regular miscible biosphere. along with the tags of Trade Hub and Heavy Industry. Well, it's a pretty interesting planet, all things considered. Glad to have been discovered. Following up, the Ascent is going to end their turn by taking one additional movement action to move a smuggler's asset that actually just completed this exploration in the 0701 hex, and they're going to move this off into 0902 onto planet BV. So that's going to cost them 1 faction credit. The previous movement cost them 2, so that'll cost a total of 3 faction credits, taking them down to a balance of 57. And they do resolve their exploration goal, so that's going to complete 2 XP for them, bringing them up to a healthy balance of 12 XP. Perfect. That will finish up Ascent's first turn for faction turn 19. Pretty exciting stuff. So let's move right along to the second faction in our turn this time, which brings us to the Starlit Court. It's exciting to see them being in the top half of the turn order, as they quite frequently seem to be rolling pretty slow on their reactionary speeds. So we're excited to see the Starlit Court being second this turn, where, they're going to be taking the heal action after they've gained some money. So let's go give them their income as is appropriate to bring them up to a total of 17 faction credits from their 4 income. They're then going to heal a strike fleet of theirs on the 1700 system, so way up over here where they have this strike fleet that is at 2 out of 8 health, and right by the base of influence here. They're going to be taking the heal action, which is one we don't see all too often, but still pops up and is still very important for our factions to take. So I'm actually just going to double check the exact calculations for how healing works, so we can go through it on stream, since it's, a common but still unusual action to see, because it only happens every so often in the faction turns. So just give me 1 second to pull up the spreadsheet here, and then let's go jump over to the faction section so we can see the faction actions. That was hard to say fast. So the heal action, we can see, if I can find it, it's actually listed as the repair action here. Those are synonymous as far as I'm concerned, just a wording choice. So we can actually see here that the repair action allows you to heal damage to an asset or a faction. For 1 faction credit, the asset heals a point of damage equal to the faction's score in its ruling attribute. More damage can be healed in a single action, but the cost of repairs increase by 1 faction credit for each time. As many different assets can be healed as a faction wishes. The Starlit Court is just healing this 1 action, so we can check out their stats to see that they have, that's right, this display's slightly wonky. They get a 5 force, 3 cunning, and 4 wealth, so they get to gain 5 HP for healing, and so they're actually going to be getting to heal that up twice, so they can fully heal up the strike fleet. So that'll cost them a total of 3 gold, and let's go complete that for them. So I'll charge them their gold since we're on this page first. We'll take them down to 14 faction credits. We'll pop on over and check out their not looking so hot strike fleet, currently finding itself at 2 out of 8, and heal it all the way back up. Congratulations, Mr. Strike Fleet. You've been repaired on a planet far away from most of the system. Then that strike fleet is going to take advantage of its ability to move up to 2 hexes, and is going to fly its wolf over to the 1500 point of interest for a total cost of 2 faction credits. So let's go complete that charge, finish up the Starlit Court's turn, exception of just completing a planetary seizure. So that will complete the goal they were setting for this turn, giving them 5 experience as their seize has been complete, as well as let's go track this new owner of planet BF. So we'll go check out the planet map and find planet BF and set the planetary government to the Starlit Court. Congratulations, they can now build starship assets on this world for 1 less faction credit. Pretty exciting stuff. That completes the Starlit Court's turn, and we'll move right along onto the third faction for this turn, the Children of the Vein, who recently got to see their announcements for what all was transpiring with Tellus come through. There were quite a few things at the most recent lore stream that you should check out about the completion of the terraforming efforts on Tellus. We'd like to thank everyone who helped contribute to that reporting. But for the faction turn 19, let's check out their actions. So first off, they're going to take their quite significant income of 9 faction credits, being bolstered quite heavily by the ownership of the Tellus planet, giving them 9 faction credits, and then they're going to take some of that money to make a purchase. But let's go through this in order here. So the Children of the Vein currently have a balance of 3 faction credits, an income of 9. It brings them up to 12. We're going to get started with their quest action as the first thing we complete. So on the system of Balpak, I believe is the pronunciation. Those are some characters I don't quite know how to pronounce correctly, but it's the 1405 planet right over here. They're going to take advantage of their having their strike fleet on planet to attempt to establish a missionary clinic as part of their faction quest. They are being granted permission from the planetary owners of the Ascent, as well as just going to go ahead and make this roll with that strike fleet. So they get to do this roll with a D10 plus 2 on that roll. For that. So let's roll the D10 plus 2. They need to beat a difficulty of, let me double check here, a difficulty of 8. They do re-roll all ones, so let's go ahead and just bake that into the roll. And they've rolled an 11, so that's an easy success on this task. So that is an establishment of a missionary clinic. So let's go make a note on where all they've put that. So this was in a 1405's system. And I think I've just been marking that with right over here in the notes section. Yeah, Children of the Vein Missionary Clinic. And it should be right here. Yep, perfect. That takes care of that portion of their action quest. So then we'll follow up by taking care of a movement of a strike fleet of theirs. So it's going to be moving from the same system that they just established this planet, this missionary clinic on, and they're going to be moving it off into space to the 1204 hex. So we'll just ignore that the spreadsheet's not going to like that, and I'll fix it after the stream. That movement's going to cost them 1 faction credit. Before we come off this tab, though, we're going to go ahead and purchase their next asset for them. So the Children of the Vein are going to be buying a marketer's asset, and they're going to be making that purchase on Tellus, which is where they already control the planet, so we don't need to double check and see if they have purchase permissions on their own planet. We'll then just drag down all of these things so that the data can fill itself in appropriately, and there we go. That updates their new asset. Let's mark it as being recently purchased this turn. And that will cost them 10 faction credits, as we can see right here. So they've spent a total of 11, so let's go subtract that from them, bringing their balance down to 1 faction credit. The next thing they're going to do is take advantage of a planetary controller tag for having the planet of Tellus, and they're going to heal the strike fleet that is located on Tellus for 1 HP. And they're allowed to do that once per turn for free, so that will take them up to 7 out of 8 HP. And then the final thing we'll just wrap their turn up with is checking out if their quest clock completes. They're currently at a clock of 54 out of 66, so let's go see how this roll works for them. So they're going to roll 66 as they've just recently established a new clinic this turn. -6 for that entire roll. They just need to get greater than a 12 to complete their quest clock. That seems pretty likely with that roll, and in fact a 15 will do that for them. So they have completed their clock. Let me just go mark that over here by just moving this at to a 66 out of 66 until I'm pretty certain that that's what I'm interested in, and that way I can remember to come back and announce the reward they get for completing their quest at the end of the processing of turn actions. So stay tuned for that announcement. Alright, that wraps up Children of the Vein's turn. They establish no goal for this round, so we get to thank them for their turn and move right along. Coming up next is the Amelhart Institute, coming in 4th this turn. They're going to return us to the world of exploration by doing such an action there, but let's go give them their income before we do that. So the Amelhart Institute has gone up to a total of 51 faction credits. Pretty respectable. And then way over in a different portion of the system, over in 0114, so that's way down here, we can find their point of interest that has a commodities broker on it. They're going to be exploring this location, and it's just 1 hex away from a neighboring explored hex, so that's going to be great. They're just going to take a wealth asset roll, or wealth roll here, so let's go double check the Amelhart's wealth score. So they've got a score of 6, so this will be a d10 plus 6, trying to beat that same difficulty we established earlier for, mistakenly, for the ascent of a 10. So just d10 plus 6. Let me just double check there's not anything else to modify this roll with. Not in my notes. So we'll just check this roll out. Unfortunately, it is a 9. They are just shy of being successful on a regular roll. They have elected to take damage and succeed anyway, so we can double check on our exploration rolls here that if you would fail an exploration, you can instead choose to succeed at a cost of 1d4 damage. So thus, Commodities Broker is going to take a total damage of 2. Pretty average for the Commodities Broker, but let's go record that for this one right here on the 0114 hex. Amelhart Institute 0114 right here, so that'll go down to 8 HP. Perfect. Alright, now they get to succeed at their exploration here, so let's see how many planets we're going to establish. Just 1 planet. Let's take a look at what it is. That's a pretty good planet. It doesn't have a ruin, so I wouldn't quite consider it perfect, but another TL5 planet in our sector is pretty cool. So let's go add this into our planet map. This was the 0114 system right here, and so this would be the BX system, planet BX. I totally don't have to hum the alphabet to myself every time I'm trying to figure out which planet's letter is next. But that's alright. We get to add the mechanics tag of wealth assets built in this world, cost 1 less faction credit overall. It is an uncolonized planet that somehow manages to find itself with some TL5 technology. It's questionable then, I guess, what happened to this planet and how it has such an amazing technological base on board. Well, it still have a breathable mix atmosphere that finds itself with a temperate temperature and a miscible biosphere. It has no notes, but it does have the planet tags of Beastmasters and Cold War. So about the only thing this planet is missing to be an ideal planet in the sector is a ruin. That would make it even better, but TL5, breathable mix, temperate, miscible, the Amelhart Institute may have just found one of the best planets we've ever established in this sector. That is pretty exciting for them. So let's take a look at what's next on their turn, though. They just have one other thing they've requested, so they have a smuggler's asset that's floating out here in space in the 0416 system, and they'd like to move it into the 0516 point of interest. So let's go complete that movement for them. So this is a smuggler's asset right here, so 0516. That's going to cost them 2 faction credits overall. So we can go ahead and do that, and I'm going to move this planet on to BX, because that's where it should be. So 2 faction credits later for the Amelhart Institute, bringing them down to 49 faction credits, and that is fantastic. That completes their turn. Let's give them their 2 experience, bringing them up to a total of 3, as we'll move right along And apparently I've had their homeworld wrong since they moved it last turn. Let's go ahead and just fix that. Fantastic. That wraps up the Emelhart's turn, and so we'll move right along into the 5th faction this turn of the Concord of Mutual Disdain, who are going to be taking a fantastic goal of Wealth of Worlds. So they need to just spend some money to complete a goal. They're going to get some money first, so let's go take care of that for them. Alright, spreadsheet. There we go. Being a little slow on me. So let's go give them their 5 faction credits, and then we'll move right along. So this will take them up to a total of 32 faction credits. They're going to immediately spend 16 of that, or 4 times their wealth value, to go down to 16 faction credits, completing their goal. Congratulations. The other thing they're going to do is move some strike fleets around so they can take that action of seizing a planet. So let's go check out the assets tracker here. They have a strike fleet currently located on the planet of currently in space in 1615, and they're going to move that over to 1715 onto the planet of AX. And then they're going to move a strike fleet in the 1617 system to 1418, which has a point of interest on it. So those movements in total cost them 3 faction credits, and then they're going to be seizing the planet of AX, which has nobody else on it except for them, so they can start that seize entirely unopposed. So let's go make a note of that. So we get to go charge them 3 faction credits, taking them down to not 1613, just a total of 13 there. I'm sure they'd love an infusion of about 116. Oh, did I seize the wrong planet on my notes? That's right, there was a discussion about this. Maybe I copied and pasted my version before you updated it. Yes, I did. My notes are out of date. That should have been planet AW. Good catch. Thank you. I will just fix that here and then go fix it on the map in a second. Seize planet AW. This should be 1 out of 3. It was updated in my messages, but I had already copied and pasted it and failed to update it in my notes. Apologies. Asset tracker AEW. Good news is it's in the same hex, so it's not a huge deal. All taken care of, all fixed. There we go. Perfect. That takes care of that. So let's move right along. I think that just completes their goals. The only thing I have left to give them is give them 2 experience points for completing Wealth of Worlds. So Concord of Mutual Disdain goes up to 8 XP. Pretty exciting stuff. Let me just double check that. I think that looks correct now. Dada yum yum, if I've still got a mistake afterwards, just DM me and I will fix it. But I think that should be good now. So let's move along to the first of our 2 longest turns for this faction turn, as we go take on the turn for the Tahora Fayi. They are coming in 6th this turn, and they're going to be setting the goal of Blood the Enemy, and then we're going to give them some money, and then they're going to take a Seize Planet action, and then they're going to have a really long entry of everything else that needs to be done. So let's go through these one by one so that hopefully I don't make any mistakes on this turn. So the first thing we're going to go do is we're going to go set the tracker for the Blood the Enemy goal, which is going to start at 0 out of 12. And so this 12 is established from the sum of their stats here. So 5 plus 4 plus 3 is a total of 12. So let's go ahead, since this one's going to potentially stick around longer than a turn, set the goal right there. They could have completed this turn, who knows, but we'll start by setting it because it could last longer than this one round. Let's give them their money so that I don't forget, because I'm sure they'd appreciate being at 25 faction credits rather than 19. And then let's process this in order. So first off, there are some movements that we need to process. So we'll check these out on the map here. So there's a strike fleet that is currently in the 0110 hex right here. It's going to move along to a new point of interest over here in 0009. So that's going to cost them 2 faction credits. The other thing they're going to do is there's a strike fleet located on the planet of Mankiraniti, which I believe is, yes, right over here. And that's going to be moving along into the hex of 1211. And then there is a strike fleet that is in the hex of 1211, the one right here. It's called the Black Gorab, I believe is the pronunciation there. It has 1 HP out of its maximum of 8. It's going to be heading on up to the planet of Nueva Cuauhtémoc, the homeworld of the Agumala Syndicate. So let's go finish those 3 movements for a total cost of 4 faction credits. So since we're on this page, let's take the money away from the movement now, going down to a total of 21. And then let's go move these strike fleets. So the strike fleet that is currently hanging out in space in this 0110 hex moves along just to try to continue exploring, totally oblivious to what's going on back along on the other side of the sector. So this spaceship right here, this is the one that has 1 HP on it, so it's moving to Nueva Cuauhtémoc, and the one strike fleet currently on Mankiraniti is moving to the 1211 hex. Perfect. Movement's taken care of. Let's begin with the attack section of their seize planet. So the first off is they're going to be seizing planet A. That's essentially a notional trivial portion of this turn, so I'll just go make a note here so we don't forget, because it would be important not to forget to do that. So, the big basis of this turn is the attack action that you're allowed to take when you start a seize. So after that seize has gone off without any other opposition possible, so we can just move right along. First thing is we're going to start off with the strike fleet of the Varying Vipers, making the attack on Hex 1211 against the Agumala Syndicate. The Syndicate has elected to defend with a... I'm going to sort this, actually. I'm going to sort the spreadsheet because I can't refresh the map display. There's currently a asset on a space tile that doesn't exist, so the map would break if I tried to refresh, unfortunately. But let's take a look here. So these are the assets of interest. Let me just highlight this column so that it's easier to see. And so the Agumala Syndicate are going to be defending against the Varying Vipers with the strike fleet of the La Casa de Fieras. So this is going to be an attack that is forced on force from the strike fleet. You can see it right here. It's a 2d6 damage for the attacker and 1d8 on the counterattack, so the Agumala Syndicate will get 1d8 if they succeed. This attack is force, as I just mentioned, so Agumala Syndicate have a defensive die of +4, and Tohura have an attack die of +5. So we'll roll the attacker first. So we'll roll a d10 +5 for establishing the Tohura Faiz roll. Well, that's a roll. Apparently, everything I said earlier about rolling poorly for the rest of the turn was just a lie. I'm just going to keep rolling 10s on a d10. So let's see, on principle, just what defensive roll here the Agumala Syndicate get. They can't defend, and, well, there's the... Apparently I spoke that 1d10 too soon, so I'd like to apologize for everyone involved. That's my bad. I totally should have accepted that, this is what happens when I start rolling well at the start of a session. So that will be a successful attack for the Tohura Faiz. So let's go ahead and roll out the damage of 2d6. 7 damage, so 1 less than is needed to take out a full HP strike fleet, which I believe the La Casa de Fieres is at full HP, so it should survive this attack. Yes, it does, going down to 1 HP, so just teetering on the brink of living. That's great there. Let me go. I'm going to make my notes on my local thing for this attack, and then I'll move them into the spreadsheet here in just a second. So that was d10 plus 5, so that becomes a 15 versus a 5. Success, 2d6 equals 7 damage. Perfect. The second attack is taking place from the Tahorafai in the same hex from a strike fleet that doesn't currently have a in-fiction name. And this attack will be defended by the Lapides Pagu, which finds itself at 5 out of 8 HP. So let's go make these rolls in the same order for consistency. So we'll start off with the Tahorafai's D10 plus 5, and oh my goodness, they've done it again. So let's figure out what the Agumon Syndicate are getting on the defensive roll here. It's an 11, so much better than last time, but unfortunately still not enough to offset the incredible rolls the Tahorafai have gotten so far. So let's go ahead and check out what the damage is. A damage of 8 is unfortunately going to destroy the Lapides Pagu, even if it had been at full HP. So I'm going to set this to 0 on the map, rather than deleting it, because I don't have a great place to put the name of this asset elsewhere on this sheet that I know of. But I don't want to delete it quite yet, just so that we remember which asset was here. So just normally I delete the asset when it goes down to 0 HP, but I'm gonna leave it for this moment for the lore reason, and I'll make an announcement on the Discord when I finally do get around to deleting this row. Probably when I find someplace better to put this note on the sheet, but I don't know where I'm going to put it yet. Okay, so those were the two attacks and that 12-11 hex. They did not go quite as well as I'm sure the Agumon Syndicate would have liked. Maybe this next attack will go more on their side, though, as it is on their homeworld. So that 1 HP asset that just jumped up to Nueva Cuauhtémoc is going to make an attack as well, and it's been elected to be defended by the covert shipping asset, which unfortunately has no counter-attack abilities, so there won't be a counter-attack if successful, but there is another asset in the way with 4 HP. I do have a request, since it's on their homeworld, that if the asset were to be destroyed, if it were successfully attacked, the BOI will soak damage, as is allowed by the attack rules and defending rules. So it's the exact same attacks for the attacker. So we'll again start off with the Tahorafai's D10 plus 5, where they've rolled an 8, and then we'll roll a D10 plus 4 for the defenders, where they have rolled a 9. So this does go slightly better for the Agumon Syndicate than their previous attacks and defensive opportunities did, but no counter damage means that there's no risk for the Tahorafai's strike fleet of being destroyed. No damage taken, no damage dealt. I do need to go add up the damage that has just been dealt for the Blood the Enemy goal, so give me just one moment to go do that. Okay, and then this roll was 8v9, failure. No counter. Perfect. Okay. So the first strike fleet dealt 7 damage. The other one rolled an 8 but only did 5, so that is a total of 12. I think that's exactly what the Tahorafai needed to complete their goal. Yes, it is. So Blood the Enemy has been complete. That will grant them 2 experience points, bringing them up to 5. Congratulations. They did complete it this turn. With that, we've made it through the attack section of the turn, so hopefully all of that has been processed flawlessly, with the exception of outcomes perhaps not being as all parties, of course, would have wished for, but such is what dice rolls do. The Tahor though, on their quest, will take advantage of trying to lure the whale, so they're going to make a d10 plus 4 versus an opposing d10 plus 4 roll for the whale. So this is for Tahor. They've rolled an 11, and the whale trying to resist the lure has rolled a 6, so the whale will be successfully directed to the hex of 1012 should it decide to move. Pretty exciting, the first time we've seen that happen. Alright, I'm going to go make a note for the whale real quick. So, blurred to a specific hex. Perfect. And then to finish up the last remaining portion of the Tahor turn, they are going to take the revised charts action to attempt to establish a moon base on the planet of Rosebud, which has several moons, and this is going to be established on the moon of Polyantha, if it can happen. So this is just going to be a roll of a d10 plus 5 for their constellation bonus against a difficulty of 8. So let's go ahead and make this roll. That's a 10. That's an easy success. So that's very exciting. Now, I would like to see if I gave a clarification. Okay, this is just a moon base. Great. So this is just a singular moon base that's been established on the world. I wanted to make sure it wasn't one of the ones where we had to like make a die roll. So let's go over here to sector objects, and this is on the planet of the moon of Polyantha. It doesn't have a name, so this will just be moon base 1 until it gets a name. And it's a moon base. Now I believe moon bases have some sector tags that they should have on them. Am I wrong? Yeah, remote moon base. Okay, so we'll roll up for this because I suspect the Tahor would appreciate that, given their last request when they've established things. So we'll roll 2d10 on our 2 charts here, so that's a 3 and a 1. So it is occupied by a reclusive hermit genius, and something dark has awoken in it. Pretty interesting. They can, of course, choose to disregard these little pieces of lore tidbits if they'd like to establish their own thing, but this will give them a nice starting point if they don't have one. That wraps up their turn. I've already given them their XP for completing the goal because I didn't want to forget. So that wraps up Tahor turn for faction turn 19. So we'll move along to the Agamala Syndicate, who are 7th this faction turn. And we'll see what they do. I'd say in response, but the actions were all predetermined, so let's just see what they're going to be doing. They're going to set the goal of planetary seizure. Sounds like a good goal, given they have a seizure completing this turn. But let's go give them their money and process their attack. So, Agamala Syndicate are going to go up to a total of 49 faction credits, and that's a great start. So, they are just going to be taking some attack actions. Now, they did lose a strike fleet in the 1211 hex. The Lapidis Pegu, excuse me, has 0 HP, so it is a destroyed asset, so it will not be making an attack. But the 2 remaining strike fleet, the La Casa de Fieres and the La Lanza, will be doing so. And they are attacking the white whale that is present in this hex. The Tahor strike fleets that are present here are stepping in to defend, and they are defending using the healthiest strike fleet available right now. Their 2 strike fleets are both at full HP, so since that's the case, I've been specified to defend with the Varingi Vipers first for damage purposes. So this is just the inverse of the rolls we were making before, so we'll continue the trend of rolling the attacker first. So a d10 plus 4 for the Agamala Syndicate. They've rolled an 8 on their first roll, and a d10 of 5 for the defensive roll of the Tahor, only rolling a 7 to defend, so they are unsuccessful in defending this attack. they will be taking the damage of the La Casa de Fieres. So that'll take 4 damage. And let's go ahead and resolve that out. That dealt to the Vernki Vipers, taking them down to 4. And then next up will be the La Lanza attack. Yep, that's the La Lanza attacking next. And we'll use the Warlike tag on this attack for the Agua Syndicate. So let's roll a 2d10 plus, 2d10, keeping the better of the roll, plus 4 for the Agua Syndicate. They've rolled an 11 for this attack, and then we'll roll a d10 plus 5 for the Tahorfai's defense. And oh my gosh, the Tahorfai is just having all the luck with 10s today. They have successfully defended this attack, so that's a counter damage from the Strike Fleet of a d8 of damage, dealing 6 damage. Oof, that's a rough attack back from the unnamed Strike Fleet that has just arrived. That'll be an interesting piece of lore, hopefully, as that will unfortunately take out the La Lanza, taking them down to 0 HP. I'm going to also leave this one at 0 for the moment, just so we can track that. That is the 2 attacks that the Agua Syndicate is able to make out of their original turn. So, yeah, let me just strike through the first Strike Fleet that was taken out was the PD's Pagoo. Let me just strike through that one so that it's accurate on the street here. So that's this one. Strike through, please. Great. Okay, so those were their 2 attacks. Those have been finished up and defended. Perfect. Okay. Sounds great. And that will resolve out the seas, because that'll be at 3 planets here, so that'll take them up to 4 XP for completing that seas. And let's go grant them control of planet L. So the Agumon Syndicate have established themselves around a new planet where they can build planetary facility assets for 1 less action credit. Pretty exciting. Alright. Takes care of everything for that. So that wraps up their turn, and I think we can move along to the Larkspur Combine, who are 8th this faction turn. So the Larkspur Combine are going to set their goal of inside enemy territory, a pretty common goal for them, and then go around using their asset ability to, complete that goal. So let's go give them their money, and then we have to run some post-tech industries, excuse me. So money given to the Larkspur Combine takes them up to a total of 11. If we go check our faction or our asset details for the post-tech industry, we've rolled this a few times, but never hurts to double check the goals here. The post-tech industry is going to roll a d6 and then either lose 1 credit, gain a credit, or return a gain of 2 faction credits. So there are 4 of those being activated, so I'm just going to roll 4d6 here and we'll add up the total results. That is just going to be 4 faction credits with the 2, 3 for both the 2s and the 3s. So pretty nice gain from those post-tech industries, getting them an extra 4 faction credits. Let's go keep track of that. That'll take the Combine up to a total of 15. Pretty exciting. They're then going to go spend that immediate 4 faction credits they earned to move their strike fleets around to complete their inside enemy territory goal. So, just to avoid coming back here again for them, I'm going to upgrade that to 6 and go move these strike fleets around. So they have 2 strike fleets currently located on the world of Mancuraniti. Let me sort over here so that it's easier to find their assets. These 2 strike fleets that find themselves here are moving around to Ida Rest. And the strike fleet that was previously on Ida Rast is going to move itself over to Mancuraniti. They've been going on quite a few trips to through the Assembled Commonwealth space. And then this there's a strike fleet right here on Icarus, and it's going to move to Heliocytus. So that completes the movements of all of those assets. They were all stealth, so that completes the 4 for inside enemy territory, and they've gained their experience for doing so. Congratulations to them. We'll come to our, well, last player-controlled faction of the Assembled Commonwealth now, and then we'll follow up with the White Whale after the fact. So, the Assembled Commonwealth is going to take advantage and try to expand some influence of theirs. So let's go give them their money before they take that action. So that'll take their income up to a total of 16 faction credits. If we take a look on the map, they're going to be moving some assets around so they can take and expand influence action on a new planet. So on the planet here of 1312, planet moving here, to planet O, they're going to be moving a surveyors that are currently located way over here, taking advantage of the covert shipping asset that is located over here on Peleus to move this surveyors to planet O. I don't know why that was so confusing for me to read, probably because of the doubling up on the 1312 hex that confused me for just a second there. But that's going to take 1 faction credit to move, and then 1 faction credit to create that base of influence. So let's go make that movement happen. So this surveyor's asset that's currently over here on planet AE moves around to planet O, and that's perfect. And then we're just going to add a new row here for the Assembled Commonwealth's new base of influence that they've decided to place on planet O. Pretty exciting stuff. Let's just drag this down and then give it 1 HP, and it has, you know, a star cost. Perfect. No purchase sickness needed on a base of influence, but that purchase sickness can go away from the covert shipping asset. So that resolves out the base of influence creation. Let's go charge them their 2 faction credits for such a purchase of bringing them down to 14. And now they were going to do some assignment from their quest. So their quest on a civil war, that's what they're currently working on. They have earned some additional dice to assign to the dice pools. They've earned a gray d6 from the goal of completing 2 sector planetary modification tasks in a hex which was newly discovered. So that was any hex that was POI at the start of the game. And they've earned a black d6 from the expand influence on 3 worlds that were not revealed at the start of the game. They're going to assign both of these dice into the Royalist dice pools, bringing the Royalist up to 5d6 on black dice and 2d6 on gray dice. The black, gray, and white dice denominations pull from pretty standard rolling a d6 to count successes. So black dice is 3, 4, 5, 6 for success. Gray dice is 3, 4, 5, 6, and then white dice do exist. They have a goal that would give them white dice, and that would be a success on a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. Pretty standard way of making d6 rolls. So these pools will be, at the time of their choosing, these pools will be rolled off against each other to decide which side wins the Civil War. I think I'm going to go ahead and spoil. They've given me some teasers of what they're looking at perhaps doing for the conclusion of this quest, and I'm pretty excited. They think they've come up with an interesting way to generate some community involvement, and so be on a lookout for that recently, and or for that soon, and maybe that'll come up to be something everyone will be able to have an interesting way of participating in. To help generate some cool lore and story behind this event. But yeah, let's make sure we don't forget to give the Assembled Commonwealth their 1 XP for completing their Expand Influence, bringing them up to 3, and that resolves out all 9 of our player-controlled factions' turns. We have a few things to resolve up, though. We still have 1 faction remaining of the White Whale, which always comes in 10th. The White Whale was attacked this turn, even though it took no damage. It was the target of an attack action, so the instructions for it follows with, if attacked this turn, it either moves 2 hexes in what would normally be a random direction, of course it's been lured towards a specific one, or it will choose to fight back and rolls a d20 to decide which of these 2 actions it's going to take. So let's go roll a d20. If the value on the dice is below its current HP, it's going to fight back, otherwise it will flee. So we're going to see that the White Whale currently finds itself at an HP... Is it still at an HP of... I don't think it's at an HP... Yeah, it's at an HP of 10. I didn't update this page, like maybe I should have. Exciting. Fixed. So we're going to roll the die. If we have an 9 or lower, the whale will attack, and if not, it will decide to flee. So let's roll this d20. A 14 is a flee, so it's going to attempt to move. It would normally move in a random direction, but of course there was a successful lure from the Tahora Fai, so it's going to move to a very specific hex that is 2 hexes away. So 12, 11, and there was a lure placed on it to go to 10, 12, so the whale will head out that direction. Let's go move the whale to the hex of 10, 12. It's had enough of this fighting and is getting out of there. Pretty exciting stuff. Alright. That resolves the White Whale's turn. Pretty anticlimactic, all things considered, but, you know, fleeing to live another day is pretty good for the whale. So I believe I just have one announcement left related to the faction turn, and that resolves out the Children of the Veins quest reward. So they have completed their quest clock. They've come out to 66 out of 66. So that resolves out their quest as a congratulations for establishing all of those missionary clinics. As far as I'm concerned, they can continue to go around placing those missionary clinics for lore things. I'm happy to continue rolling out the success. It just doesn't particularly progress a quest clock anymore, but if they're interested in having more of them on the map, and there are more factions interested in having these lore locations, that's perfectly fine by me. We can start recording that stuff on the map. But they did complete the quest, and a quest reward for doing so is in order. So they will be gaining an additional faction tag that they will have an ability to use as its trigger is available. So this new faction tag is called Gene Rot Might, and it'll all be posted in the Discord shortly after the stream. And the text for the tag is, this faction's bioengineers create a genetic edge in combat. They always win ties during attacks. This effect overrides the tie effect of the fanatical tag. So they're going to be offsetting a disadvantage that the previous tag had. If you're interested in establishing a faction quest and you don't already have one, feel free to reach out to me, and we can try to get that process started. There is a portion of the faction quest that is designed to be a lore generation tool, so please do keep that in mind when you reach out to discuss it with me. Anybody else who has a current quest in progress is at least has some conversations about their rewards already, and the same thing will happen going forwards when you get to the point where your quest would be completed. The turn you completed, I'll announce what the reward is, and it'll take effect next turn, like the normal delay of propagation of rule updates. So that's pretty exciting for the Children of the Vein. I'm going to have to figure out how I want to modify this page we're currently looking at so that I can display 2 tags. I'll figure that out, but I will do so later this week. But in the meantime, you'll be able to check out the text description of this tag in the Discord shortly after the stream. Alright, I think that's about it for today. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and watching. I think that'll resolve everything up. So, upcoming dates, do pay attention if you're interested in changing factions. You need to get that request in before midnight on Tuesday or 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, May 9th. Faction swaps will take place then for the next upcoming turn. The lore stream will be within the next couple of weeks, and I would suspect the next faction turn will take place on June 4th, barring any unexpected scheduling issues on my end. I'll just double check and confirm and get all those dates out there for people within the next couple of days, hopefully before the announcement of the faction turn orders for faction turn 20. So that's pretty exciting. Lore stream will be within the next 2 weeks. Just need to finalize and confirm with Cal. He's good for the 21st, more than likely. If not, it'll be delayed for a week. But thanks everyone for joining. I'm really excited that the quest for completing the terraforming of Tellus has wrapped itself up. There is something in the works for what will follow up after that. We'll get to see some precursors of that probably at the upcoming lore stream, and it'll be interesting to see what the next environmental event that the factions will have to contend with is. They'll probably get another turn or two to sort of regroup after Tellus before I introduce another environmental effect. That'll also give me some time to finalize my writing in advance so that I don't have to. I can hopefully minimize the situations I end up where I need to make something up on the fly for those type of group events. I like to have it pretty well scaffolded out what all the different things are that could occur, so that I don't have to make a decision in the middle that may require me giving the appearance of having to choose between negatively or positively affecting different factions. I'd like to have it just sort of all written down beforehand. Try to minimize that perception. It also means that hopefully when I'm running out the next event that there's not a scramble on stream as I've run into an edge case that hasn't been encountered before. So hopefully you're all excited for what's coming up next. I have been, it's been great fun, so thanks everyone for submitting in your turns this month. I've really appreciated it, and I'll see you all again in a couple of weeks for our next lore stream. So thank you once again for joining in to Unrestricted Lorefare's Beacon Space Faction Turn 19. I've been your host, Xavier, and please have a great rest of your afternoon, day, or evening, whatever it may be. Thanks, everyone.